You know what? It has been too long since we've had a man named Doug on our show. And today we changed that because we're bringing Doug Eberle back to talk not about Seinfeld this time. Though we're going to pepper in some quotes because, it's just what we always do on this show. We're talking video games, and not just any video games. No, 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 no. We're talking the ones that made us who we are today. The ones that have shaped our very humanity of just the people on the show. Not all of humanity, just like four people. That's what we're doing today.
I mean, it might have shaped humanity, but that's up to you. You can listen to season 1, episode 27 of Digital Dissection, the games that made us, and let us know what you're thinking about that. But for those of you who got here by accident, you somehow just leapfrogged over the last 40 episodes, here's how you can find us. If you search for Digital Dissection, a nerd podcast, wherever you listen to your favorite shows, we're most likely going to be there because we did put in a lot of work to get on all of these platforms. But we're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we're writing on the blog. So for those of you that don't like to read, remember how to do it because we're putting stuff out every week. Other than that, though, pay us a visit, check out the extra content, and yeah, we are more than happy to welcome back Doug Eberle. We had a great time. This is actually a really funny development because we've actually had multiple fans of the show reach out to us and say, you guys keep talking about this Games That Made Us series that you're going to start doing, and you're over 40 episodes into your show, and you still haven't done it yet.
Wow, 40 episodes. I think that's what I'm more surprised about over than anything.
That's the hook, though.
We just never make it, and they keep coming back.
Yeah.
That was the plan the whole time.
They're going to get to it eventually. I just know it.
I think really at this point, you've listened to enough episodes, and so they're like, you know what? I've held on this long. I might as well just keep seeing what happens. And now we're like season 15 of The Walking Dead. We just keep marching up.
Although this time I am wearing the one video game shirt that I own with my proud 900 Club membership.
The golden poop.
Yes, the golden poop, which this is not one of the games I'm talking about. But yeah, still. No one should have to collect those 900 Korok seeds in that game. If I could be your weird, like, I don't know, Jesus, that I've taken care of that for you so you don't ever have to. I've made that sacrifice. Don't do it.
You gave hours of your life so that we could be free in our lives to not have to do that.
Yep. Even though Chelsea knew exactly what I was going to get when I told her I was doing it.
I did. I absolutely looked that up first. Mm-hmm. And then when I was like, oh, Joe, no. And he's like, don't tell me. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you. And it's going to be better for us all when you come to the realization on your own that you just wasted hours and hours, days,
absolutely days. But hey, it was one hell of a snap that you got.
Yes, it was.
As it was revealed to me. So that's good.
Yes, it was.
Well, speaking of someone who has wasted hours with us previously, we would like to reintroduce to the Digital Dissection crew, Doug Eberle. How are you doing, Doug?
Doing fine. How are you?
I
think I only wasted 1 hour, though.
Hey, great hour to waste, though, by the way.
Hour well spent.
Darn right.
It was a hell of an hour. And for some behind the scenes, Doug, I didn't actually tell you guys this during the recording, but this was back when we were stuck using Zoom. And the reason why we had to kind of keep things short was because Zoom only lets you record up to like 40 minutes if you're using it free.
Yes. Yeah.
So part of the way through, it's like, extend your time. And I went, oh, shit, I didn't know this was something that happened.
Oh, wow. We could use my account.
Yeah, we didn't know that.
The more you know.
Yeah. Yeah, devotees of this show will remember Doug from episode 9. We called the new medium. with Doug Eberle. And honestly, Doug, we had such a fucking great time with you that we just had to bring you back. And I know you love video games.
Thanks a lot.
So,
yeah, I had a great time too.
Yeah, we had a really damn good time. We probably would still be recording if Zoom didn't have
that is definitely true.
A blessing and a curse.
Well, it is a damn good thing to have you back. I mean, once again, it's fantastic to meet someone who lives halfway across the country that you feel like you've known your whole life. So we really can't thank you enough for coming back here and
awesome.
And yeah, and meeting Chelsea, because Chelsea was not here yet the first time.
No, she was not.
Yeah. Yeah, she's already made some insults, and she's already kind of
insults.
That's the way to do it. Hit the ground running, make fun of everybody.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, but before the show, she was just berating you. It was like it reminded me of the other guys, where Will Ferrell's making fun of his plain wife.
Oh my God.
She sees Doug and she goes, "Are you going to change?"
Yeah, is that what you're wearing?
You look like dog shit. Come on.
This is only audio, right? Nobody's actually going to see me, right?
No.
Okay, good. Because if they did, oh my God.
Well, if they saw you, they'd be seeing Mark's hair. So.
Oh yeah. This is what happens.
There you go. Give it personality.
Yeah, when you make cantina style shrimp and you use the wrong seasoning that's way too hot, this is what your hair turns into.
It literally blows your hair back.
It does. Maybe he's born with it.
Constant adjustment due to sweating.
Yes.
That's what that
is. maybe he's born with it. Maybe he's just fucking ugly, and that's what happened. Well, as we mentioned, the Games That Made Us is not the series that you see on Netflix. It's one where we're going to dig into the games that we loved, that basically either really impacted us in our gaming careers. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're all going to kind of share a little bit, go around the campfire, if you will.
Yeah, a couple rounds maybe. We each get I don't know. Say, why limit it to just one game each? That'd be too little. No.
Yeah, we need more than one game. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't think of a better way to kick this off than letting the guest have first choice. And Doug, what is your first game that made you?
My first game is Bomberman for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yes.
Nice.
I'm assuming you're all familiar with it. This is one of the most popular ones out of the three that I kind of picked to talk about. I'm sure everybody's familiar with this game at some point, whether it's the original Bomberman or the many, many iterations that came afterwards. I mean, I think there's one of these on pretty much every single Nintendo console that was ever released.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there could not be, but I'm talking about the first one. So yeah, it was developed by Hudson Soft, programmed by Shinichi Nakamoto. And for any of the people listening to this that aren't familiar with it at all, it's basically like an action puzzle game where you blow things up and you try not to die. It's a very hectic game. The first time I played this, I mean, it was around 1990 probably. I had just recently gotten the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I had gotten this game as a rental, loved it. Eventually, my grandfather purchased it for me, and I played it just a ridiculous amount. So much so that even today, I still play action puzzle games. Essentially, all of the games that I picked to talk about today are this type of game, and that, I didn't even realize it was my favorite type of game until I started listing things off, and I was like, wow. Now, this is a game that I have beat as well, and I have kind of a funny story about that. So
Sure.
I mentioned playing it when I was a kid and everything, but I never beat it when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I beat this game for the first time about 4 years ago. And what happened was I was out for the evening. I got home pretty late, maybe around 3:00 in the morning. And I said, I'm going to play Bomberman. I turn it on, and there are 50 levels in this game, right? So I'm playing, and I got to like level 37 or something and died. And then I was like, you know what? Now at this point, it's like 4:30 in the morning. Okay.
There's no reason to stop.
Right?
I can stop anytime.
So I turned the game on again. And now, all of a sudden, here I am at level 37 again. But I still have some lives. I have the power-up that allows you to blow up the mines remotely rather than having to wait for the time. So, I'm super powered up. I got the really long fire streams going on. Yeah. And I just keep going through the levels. Now I'm at like 48 of 50. Ooh. I lose my power-ups.
Oh, no.
And I am now I start to stand up in front of the TV. I'm literally just like, oh my God, like I'm about to beat this game. The enemies were moving faster and faster and faster. But anyway, I ended up beating it. I'm sure I still have, I took out my phone and took a picture of it because I had to send it to all my friends that knew I loved this game. And the last thing I'll say about it is that it had one of the worst end screens ever.
Oh,
no.
Yeah. It just said, I'm not even sure if it said congratulations. It said maybe congratulations, maybe you win. And then it said, now play Load Runner, which is another sort of action puzzle game by the same developer.
They hit you with an ad.
Yes, they did. And then I played, I had never played Load Runner. I ended up trying it out and not really liking it too much. And I was just like, oh, wow. It was very anticlimactic. But,
oh my gosh, that's like the decoder ring in A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
They're just telling you to
really
buy
is.
Ovaltine.
Exactly.
It's not quite as bad as the NES Ghostbusters that just says congratulation at the end.
Yeah, I wish it had a misspelling. That would have been worth it, actually.
Oh my God. Now that I look back at it, I don't think I ever beat the original Bomberman. So that's hilarious.
Nope.
I think I only ever played that game as an emulator on a PC. So I never even had it on the original NES or played it on the original NES.
Oh, okay, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I can just see Doug, late in the night, like
deep in the night,
like
looking
Costanza.
for some bombs.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Costanza spotting, the animals in the road and the mailboxes.
Oh yeah, my eyes were definitely burning at this point. Because also I was playing it on like a 55-inch flat screen, and it's it doesn't look too great on there.
I'm curious, Doug. So you obviously played it quite a bit growing up, but did you not beat it as a kid because of? I mean, I'll just say, like, did you not have the skills to do it? Was it just the time necessary to get it done?
I think partially skills. So I was really young when I had Nintendo. Okay, my skills came out more in the 16-bit generation.
Yeah.
I was around 6 or 7 years old for the time where I was really playing Nintendo, NES.
Mm-hmm.
So that was. I mean, I played Atari before that, but I didn't really have that good of skills, And then I never really stopped playing these games. I still play games of that era, and now I am just better at them. And back then I would try, but maybe I didn't have the patience or the skill. There's some thought that goes into it too. Like you need to plan out your power-ups properly, and as a child, you just kind of want to rush through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as a child. As an adult, like I don't do that.
You can't see it, Doug, but Joe has like markings all over his walls to map out the games he's about to play.
Yeah, it's on the front wall, so you can't see it because that's where the strategy is. That way,
cool.
this looks like nerdy normal back here, but up here it's just all crazy.
I mean, have you ever actually drawn out a map to a video game though?
Oh yeah, I sure have.
Because I have.
Yeah.
Yep.
You had no choice. You had no choice back then.
Oh no, like the original Legend of Zelda, I mapped the crap out of that thing. Like especially with I think the final dungeon with Ganon, where like it keeps changing and mixing shit up. Like, all right, I will map this so that way I can actually beat the damn game.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I guess the last question I would have on Bomberman, because I've done these types of marathons, Doug, where like you're just in the zone, you know, your biological needs just kind of just wash away. They're gone. You know, you've forgotten the faces of your family, and you just pound through to the end. But how long did this majestic run take you to do?
It's impossible to know. I think, you know, I think I went to sleep that night around 6 a.m. I'm going to say that the whole game only takes about an hour.
Oh, wow.
You know, because each level is timed. I don't remember the exact amount of time, but you can run out of time.
Yeah.
And it might be 90 seconds. That sounds appropriate. So you've got 50 levels. The most that you can possibly play a level is 90 seconds. So I'm going to say about an hour.
So basically, you had to cry and then cry again because that takes some doing.
That first level that I lost at when I said it was around 37, that is where I had been dying for years.
Yeah.
Just because it introduces like a new enemy that moves very quickly and very erratically. And you have to be in a right frame of mind when that thing comes onto the screen.
Oh, man.
So that night it just happened to work out. I don't know if I will ever try this again. But
why ruin a perfect thing?
Exactly. Yeah. I haven't played it once since then.
Well, just imagine every like funny montage you've ever seen. Like I can see you in the zone playing this, and there's like a silhouette of a dude just shredding guitar, you know, passing by you, you know.
I would say at the very least, this is a Rush mixtape being used.
Oh,
while going through this.
Yeah.
You know, you're hitting the buttons very quickly at, you know, that far into the game. So definitely you've got some, you know, high tempo music happening there.
Well, I am very happy to hear the story of the first game that made you, which is Bomberman for the NES. Who would like to go next for the next game that made us here?
Well, not all at once, everyone. Which is
you have to pick a volunteer.
Go next.
I'll go with one. And this is the one that we were talking a little bit before this goes before we start recording. And I'm like pretty sure Chelsea and I think we have at least one game in common.
I know. I wonder a little bit if we are about to do a sharing moment.
And we could. And if that's the case,
I mean, it depends. We'll see what happens. Maybe it'll be. We'll see. I'm so excited. I hope it's the game that I also am planning to share.
Okay.
And I want you to go first.
All right. So my first game that I'm picking is Pokemon Red.
Yeah!
Wow.
Knew it! We're definitely picking the same one here.
Mine is 100% Pokemon Red, and I was really hoping you were going to pick Blue because then I think we might have just leveled up and would have had to quit altogether.
Oh, yeah.
Like it just what more is there? But no, perfect. This is great.
Yeah,
this is lovely.
It's great. Yeah, because we both picked Red growing up, didn't we?
Yeah, Red's better than Blue. Fight me.
Red's way better than Blue. Way better.
Actually, I didn't pick at all. I didn't pick. I started playing Pokemon Red when I was at my older cousin's house. He was probably like 6-7 years older than me or something like that. We were hanging out in his basement and he was playing some old Final Fantasy game on the TV, and he had a Game Boy just sitting there, and the only game that he had for it was Pokemon Red. And so I picked it up because he was playing something already, and so I started playing, and he was like, you can just keep it, take it home, that's yours. So I got a free Game Boy and Pokemon Red.
Wow.
And that is what started my intimate journey with the Pokemon franchise. But go ahead.
That's awesome. Let's like morning show host this up. We can share Pokemon together.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean my like getting it was not nearly as exciting as yours. I think I got it when we were in like my family was visiting the state capitol because my sister's various medical needs had us go there on a regular basis. And on the way back from that, we stopped at Toys R Us, which is always for me, the highlight of the trip because, you're sitting in a hospital for a long period of time. And then we go to Toys R Us afterwards, picked out a video game, and it was like a new release. It was a popular pick. So I picked Pokemon Red, solely for the fact that I thought the cover art with the giant lizard with the fire in his tail was way cooler than the turtle or the Blastoise at the time. So I picked that. And that's kind of what went with it ever since. And I had like a close group of friends that also bought the different games. So it was pretty great where we actually had four friends playing it. And we actually divided it equally where 2 friends ended up with red and 2 friends ended up with blue so that we could actually like trade things at an appropriate time and get through it. Except they like all tried to stab me in the back because I was blowing through it a lot faster. And it got to the point where we were trying to race to get 150. And they're like, well, we'll just leave Joe out because he's ahead and he's bragging about it, which I didn't think I was bragging about. I could have been. Maybe I was an asshole. I don't know. But yeah, so it was just a race to get to 150. And I may have pulled some shenanigans to get to 150 and 151, but we don't have to talk about. We'll talk about that later. We'll get to it. It's a fun story.
Yeah, some of us on the call know that story, and Doug, it's a banger.
It is a banger.
I can't wait to hear it.
Oh man! But
all of our
it's
listeners are going to think of Joe differently after they hear that story.
Yeah, they're somebody might demand reparations after that.
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now that I'm making this offense public. But anyway, before we get to that, absolutely loved the game. Like it was such a great, simple RPG to play with because you get 6 party members, you have all these monsters to pick from, and you can level up and do things with. The sprites and the sounds were totally cool at the time. And the story was just simple enough to work, where it wasn't convoluted with too many things. Like now Pokemon has exploded, and like even in the main series games, they kind of just add like something small each game now to the point where they're ridiculous. But like back then you didn't have to worry about, what clothing your Pokemon was going to wear for a fashion show. It's like, no, these assholes are just fighting for me. Like that's all they're trained to do is they're just going to like beat up monsters until I'm the champion of all the monster trainers. And also great like model of parenting these games. There's always only ever just your mom. The dad is always gone doing who knows what. He's ran off. And at the ripe age of 10, you're expected just to go out and explore the country, completely unsupervised.
You're expected to become a top-ranked cockfighter, basically, at the age of 10.
Pretty much.
Here's a tiny flared lizard. Don't die.
And don't burn down the entire forest searching for other monsters with your tiny fired lizard.
Yeah, you're good.
Perfect.
Yeah. Great.
Does anyone know where the idea of Pokemon was gotten from?
Not at all.
It was bug collecting, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Joe, bug collecting. Look at you.
Yeah. But it's I'm trying. It's Satoshi, and I always forget his last name. The guy who came up with the idea for Pokemon. But Satoshi is also how that's what it is, Tajiri. Because that's how we get Ash in the cartoons, because he's take Ash out of Satoshi and throw it in there, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they were friends ever since.
Yes. And also in Japan, they opened up with Pokemon Red and Green instead of Red and Blue.
Yes.
And the sprites were like completely different. There was originally a plan to have an option for a female trainer, but I think due to space, they had to cut out the character choice.
Yep. She didn't join us until Pokemon Crystal on the Game Boy Color.
Which you had that
I was
one,
stoked. Heck yeah, I had to buy that. Are you kidding me? I'm a lady.
Well, for a moment here, Doug just did the bodily motion of raising his hands and motioning to himself as if I need to ask a question. So I want to see what your thought process is.
I did. So I'm going to kind of spoil things a little bit right now. I've actually never played a Pokemon video game.
Wow.
Yeah. This is something that my younger siblings were into. And around the time when those came out, I was kind of in a dry spell of video games, so to say. So my main question here is, what's the difference between the colors? Like you're saying, like I've been aware of these existence of the different colors, but is it a different game completely, or is it just introduced different Pokemon in the other one?
Excellent question. Yeah, basically it is pretty much the same exact game. You play as the same character and things like that. Basically, the main difference and how it encourages you to play and to trade with your friends is that there are some Pokemon that are exclusive to the certain version of the game that you have. So that's why if you are like Joe and I and you have red, you really need a friend that has blue.
I see. So you can transfer them from the blue to the red?
Yes.
And what is there, like a battery save?
Yeah.
Oh, it was eventually they do a battery save. Yeah.
But you had to have a link, and literally it was like a 2-foot, 3-foot cable. And you plug them in at the same time, and then you transfer your one little Pokemon to your one friend, and you get the other one from the other one. There are some Pokemon that evolve only by trading, so you do have to have friends if you want to collect them all.
Yes, the gotta catch them all thing. You need friends.
Actually an ingenious way to market the games, because I'm sure there were many people that just didn't have any friends.
Yeah.
And they had to buy every single Pokemon game in order to get them all.
Oh, and I'm sure it was out there too.
And I think Ronda Rousey actually does that, to be completely honest. I think I read somewhere she's like, I've beaten literally every single game of Pokemon because I buy both versions and I have no friends that play it. So she beats both versions and then catches them all
and then consolidates them.
Yep.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
I was going to make the joke of, Doug, are you insinuating that fans of early RPGs didn't know other people?
I think I was just insinuating, just people who play video games in general.
Yeah.
Reason, that you're, sitting at home playing video games,
Yeah.
That's true.
It's true. We were all
because
awkward.
You're awesome. Oh,
yeah. That's what I
I like how Chelsea went with the optimistic route. That's very happy you went that way, because three of us just went to a very dark place very quick.
I'm over here like, it gets better. Hang in there.
Well, you know what? Because you both picked this game, I have a question that I'd like to ask for the second time. It's the Pokemon world. These are all animals that interact with each other. There has to be a circle of life. Are the Pokemon eating each other, and are the humans eating Pokemon?
Yes. They for sure are. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. They allude to
actually, it. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sure some Pokemon don't eat other Pokemon. They probably just eat vegetables or something.
Sure. Yeah. Look at birds and the butterflies and,
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm just sitting here. Just now I'm taking it too far and I'm laughing. Joe, please stop me. Save me from myself.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you read original Pokedex entries, some of them do talk about how they eat each other. They're animals to a degree still. And there are, especially in the original Japanese texts, they talk about how Ghastly, which is a little ghost Pokemon, but they're it can extend its ghastly vapor to the point where it can go envelope an entire Indian elephant. And they have two references to working with Indian elephants, and that's mostly due to the fact there was a canceled elephant-looking Pokemon. So in the original text, it was interacting with this Pokemon we've cut out of the game, so we're just going to make it an Indian elephant. But there are talks of people loving the taste of Chansey eggs that they make.
Yes.
So yeah, they're eating each other. They have, I think, even in the cartoon, they have basically a Kabutops basically impaling a shark with its two things and eating it. So they eat each other. They eat. Even though you never see them in the cartoon, they do say regular animals are still in the Pokemon world. They just don't focus on them being there at all.
They do also, and they have these in later games in the series as well too, but they have farms with like there's a Miltank is a dairy cow Pokemon, and you like can specifically milk the Miltank for like so there's Pokemon milk. Yeah.
Can't see this, but Doug is making.
Doug has been taken aback.
See,
milk anything with nipples. So
yeah,
the whole topic of Pokemon eating Pokemon felt like a sex scene in an 80s sitcom to me. Like, we pan off of it, it's implied.
Yeah.
That's how they handle Pokemon eggs, by the way, in that game. They introduced breeding in Generation 2, and the way you always breed is you leave 2 Pokemon together in a daycare center. And because these are
with an elderly couple.
With an elderly couple who, by the way, completely terrible at watching Pokemon, because they'll just say, hey, like your Pokemon were hanging out. Next thing you knew, an egg just showed up, and we have no idea how it got there. You also have the only 2 Pokemon here.
Welcome to our Pokemon brothel.
That's right. That Ditto can be whatever you want, baby.
Yeah.
It's like a middle school.
I'll be your Ditto.
Like a middle school dance where all the kids go home pregnant because no one's watching them.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Yeah, like this taking place at a daycare center just did not seem right to me.
Yeah, it makes it even worse when it's called a daycare. Like, is it daycare or is it a bit of a whorehouse? Like we did. And I'm being charged for this. Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. There's an exchange of currency. Like, that's prostitution.
Yeah, if there's a mirror in that facility, I'm guaranteeing you it is one you can see from the other side and see on through it.
Oh my God.
See, I thought you were going the mirror on the ceiling route. So
God,
shows what I know.
Is that Magic City? Are you talking about Magic City right now?
I'm just talking about mirrors on the ceiling. I don't know what you're talking about.
There's a TV show called Magic City that actually does use mirrors on the ceiling to essentially facilitate the same exchange. But tell you what, I absolutely love where that went, because legendary, game series. I'm going to take us back a couple of years to a game that's not quite as legendary. Every time I bring this up to someone, they go, "What the fuck are you talking about?" So we're going to dial back the clock to 1990.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about a little platform that initially launched in arcades. It was a side-scrolling tower climber style of game. Similar to Bomberman, it had 50 stages. And you can play as 2 gentlemen who are princes named Nick and Tom. Very royal names.
Yes.
Now,
Regal, that Nick and Tom.
Now, who knows the title of this game so far based off of the very detailed clues that I have given?
I don't at all, but I feel like I should.
Yeah.
Well, tell you what. The 2 main characters can throw snowballs like toddlers throw tantrums.
Oh, is this Ice Climbers?
No, it is not.
Dang it.
I think that's yeah.
Oh.
It is called Snow Brothers.
Okay.
Snow Brothers.
It's an expensive one nowadays.
Yes. Yes.
On NES. That I've never played the game, but I've seen it. It's one of those ones that can cost you a few $100s.
Oh, it absolutely does. And there's some reasons for that, which I will absolutely get into as well. But to really kind of just pull back the curtain on this game. Okay, so your mission is very important. You have to rescue princesses, which has never been done in gaming from what I'm understanding.
Nope, not once.
No, that's a fresh idea. I like it.
Well, hey, just like our very regal Nick and Tom names, okay? The princesses would be named Puri Puri and Puchi Puchi.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
No. Okay.
Poochie Poochie.
That sounds like a Jay and Silent Bob term.
Yeah.
So now, which one does Nick go out with, and which one does, how do they choose?
Yeah, that's the only logical next question.
And what happens if they choose the wrong one?
Or the same one.
The same one.
Yeah.
I'm guessing
is this
at
like
the end.
Bill and Ted?
It doesn't go with Kramer and Mickey.
There's that too. This is a very common trope, apparently.
Well, to add a layer of confusion to that scenario, guys, the story actually changed based on what version of this you were playing, because it came from Japan, it was put into arcades, and then it was actually ported to consoles, right? So the story actually changes depending on which one you're playing. Now, the antagonist of the series, though, his name is King Scorch, aptly named, of course, because he's fighting these brothers that are princes that he turned into snowmen. I mean, you know, turn your enemies into the only thing you can kill, right?
Yep.
So yeah, now they're sub-zero temperature soldiers of fortune that throw snowballs, you know, with an amazing amount of accuracy. So as I mentioned with the porting of this game, though, the Japanese princesses would actually change their names in the American console version to Terry and Tina.
Terry and Tina.
Okay. Because Poochie Poochie wasn't catchy enough for them?
Poochie Poochie.
Yep. We've gone from Japanese royalty to names you can find in a Wisconsin bar any day of the week.
Terry and Tina. So true. So true.
There's got to be at least one Poochie Poochie at a bar in Wisconsin, okay?
It has to be.
At least
There's
one.
a lot of Poochie Poochie, I'm telling you.
Well, here's what I want to do, right? Because I figured this was a game that either people didn't know about a whole lot, or maybe had only seen like once or twice, okay? So we have talked about how this game would have an American port. So it was brought to us by Commodore Technology on the Amiga PC. And the people who would actually port it on the American market would be Ocean Software. Do you guys remember Ocean Software at all?
It sounds familiar.
Yes, definitely.
These guys did almost every major movie adaptation around the same time period. Joe, we covered them in our Batman video game history series. They did,
Yeah, we did.
Batman, the Cape Crusader, the movie, and they would actually do games for the Addams Family, Highlander, and even Platoon.
Oh, they did Platoon? I actually have that.
Oh, I had no idea that was a video game. Doesn't seem like a solid. I mean, as a child
Strange
growing up,
thing
I
to
didn't think
turn
Platoon
into a
would be a
game
thing.
for
Yeah.
kids, I would say.
Yeah.
Yep, I have to imagine like they had planned to do oh my god, what's the other big military one from the 70s with
Apocalypse
Brando's
Now?
in it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like,
Apocalypse Now.
was their plan to make that a video game, but after Platoon didn't do so hot, like we'll hold off on Apocalypse Now?
I think they ran out of pixels trying to get, trying to get that kind of drama on screen, you know. But it was really funny to me that Ocean Software would kind of innovate some of the early gaming technology for Batman, and then bring us this, little known Snow Brothers title that was originally made by a Japanese studio.
Which Batman game did they work on?
So it was literally just the singular titled Batman.
Oh,
Batman.
Wow, I don't know why I thought that was that published by a different company then? I don't know why I thought that was a Hudson game. So maybe they just published it.
It's a good question, because at this time, Batman would be made on like the PC by Ocean Software. The title would bounce around a little bit, though, by the time of like the early 90s, where Batman games were being released on 10 consoles in a given year, and they're made by 4 or 5 different companies.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this was like
the game for NES is so good, though.
Oh yeah.
Much
It's
better than
amazing.
that terrible Dark Tomorrow GameCube game.
Oh.
I'll never be over Batman Dark Tomorrow.
We've officially hit our absolute cap for Dark Tomorrow this year, Joe. We shouldn't mention it ever again.
Yeah, we talked about it once, and that was more credit than the game deserved.
Well, to keep it on topic of Snow Brothers, okay, so the studio that made it was called Toplan, and they were, of course, a Japanese studio that pretty much specialized in arcade games, but they were really they earned the title as the most influential Japanese shoot 'em up developers and the master of the scrolling shooting genre. So
Wow.
they became known for this. This was their thing. When it came to the American markets, though, they said, "We're not touching Snow Brothers. You guys can figure it out." So that's why the American versions are so different. And they did things like add cutscenes in the American versions. They animated
We gotta have the
brand new
action.
sprites.
Yeah.
Well, here's something I was prepared to do just because I figured nobody would have any understanding of this studio. I'm prepared to list off the legendary resume that is Toaplan's shoot 'em up genre and all the titles that it included.
Well, let's hear them.
Is this a list of 2 games?
No, this
Well-
will be the next 20 minutes of the show.
I will do my best to perform the closest pronunciations that I can muster. But these would be titles known as Django, Performan, Tiger Heli, Jonkyo, Guardian, Slapfight, Mahjong Sisters, Flying Shark, Wardner, Twin Cobra, Rally Bike, Truxton, Hellfire, Twin Hawk, Demon's World, Zero Wing, Fire Shark, Snow Brothers, of course, Outzone, Teki Paki, Vimana, Gox, Pip and BBs, Truxton 2, Fix 8, Dogiyun, Grindstormer, Knuckle Bash, Enmadayo, Batsugun, and finally, Snow Brothers 2 with new elves. And that's not a typo. New elves, not new levels. New elves.
Okay,
New
so like
elves.
these could have been video games, or these could have been Saturday night movies on the Sci-Fi Channel. I have no idea.
Well-
it was either or
I knew one of them.
Was it
Ooh.
Rally Bike?
or Slap Fight.
Tiger Heli.
Tiger Heli.
Nice. I had Rally Bike on the NES. That game I have
Wow.
played. Yeah. It's
Wow.
just a little racing motorcycle
Look at
game. I
that.
mean, yeah.
3 out of 4 played their games. That's not bad.
Yeah. 3 out of 4 ain't bad.
That's a good statistic.
It's more than I was thinking would happen.
I mean, we could account for inflation when this podcast hits season 2, but we'll wait.
Yeah, well, so you know what? Maybe these are titles that we can bring to our next conversation on what made us. Because looking at your faces, and Chelsea's got no video, I can see they made a very big impact on you, and I think it's worth dusting off at some point here.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
taking a small step back, Chelsea, did you ever have Mew in the original Pokemon games?
No, because I'm not a dirty thief.
Okay, so in Pokemon there are 2 ways you can acquire Mew. Because Mew was, if you had a Japanese version, if the monster hits 100, it just evolves into Mew. But they left that out in the American game. But you could acquire Mew in 2 ways. One was a glitch, where after you beat like the trainers in the bridge in Cerulean City, if you have something that knows fly, which if you do this early in the game, there's no way to get something that knows fly. So you have to go right next to a patch of grass and catch an Abra that knows teleport. And then you walk up a little further, and there's this bald-headed trainer. And as soon as you walk in front of him, if you hit start and then teleport back to Cerulean City, what will happen is if you time it right, as soon as you teleport back, the trainer gets the exclamation part thing saying that he's noticed you and he's going to walk over and talk to you, but you transport back to the city. When you get there, your A and B buttons don't work anymore. So it's like, oh, shoot. Okay, the game's definitely glitched. So you walk back up through the bridge, you ignore the trainer who spotted you, and you go to talk to the trainer who really likes shorts, wearing shorts. He says that he loves shorts, and this is his favorite thing. And you walk in front of him, you beat him, and then you walk into a patch of grass, and Mew pops up. And that's one way to get Mew in America in the original games.
Have
and
you
can
done
still
that?
do that. I have
Does
done
that
that.
legit work?
Yeah, it works. I did that with my Pokemon Yellow game.
I feel like I had a friend. I still have this friend, but this friend and I spent a very, very, very long time trying to do all of these reported glitches. And we never did anything except for break our games.
Yeah. Did you try doing like the SSN thing?
Yeah.
That thing didn't work.
No.
The SSN glitch didn't work at all.
We're like, okay, so we're gonna catch all the Pokemon because he's going. Professor Oak says he's going to give us something really special. You know, you try all this stuff.
Yeah, he just gives you a certificate that says, "Hey, good job catching all 150." That's all you get from Professor Oak. It's pretty lame.
Makes you want to cry
a little bit. Yeah.
So what's the other story of acquiring a Mew?
So the second
That's what
way
I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the dirty deeds.
Yeah.
So the second way you could get Mew is once upon a time, Nintendo America did an event where I think it's called like Pokemon America or Pokemon USA or something really simple. And they basically drove an RV to select city locations and they would just port Mew onto your game if you went to the event. Me growing up in a small town, there was no way that was ever happening because I think the closest place it did to us was like Chicago. My parents there's no way my parents would drive in Chicago for a flipping video game. It wasn't happening. But what they would do is they would sign me up for some like little religious camp because I grew up Catholic. And I had to go to it. I had no choice into it. I was told I'm going.
Joe clearly missed some of the teachings.
I did miss a few things from the good book because one thing I did like I'm going to. Thou shalt not steal.
Thou shalt not borrow, maybe?
I mean, I borrowed with the intent to never give back. So I brought my cartridge with me and my my link cable. Like maybe I'll meet someone cool at this little Christian retreat thing, and we can play Pokemon together. But for the first few days, I basically just spent fuming like this is really stupid. I hate being here. And I'm just going to play Pokemon at night with my little light when I'm supposed to be sleeping, but I'll be doing that instead. Well, I got bunked with a really, really kind of like the worst stereotypical like nerd kid ever. Like he was greasy. He had no social skills. He was everything that Revenge of the Nerds said nerds were, but in the worst possible way. And one thing he did was attend one of these Nintendo events. Because he either lived close to it, his parents had money, I don't know, but he was one of the lucky bastards that got Mew put onto his game. And he like brought it up one day, like he was like rubbing it in. He's like, "Oh, I've got this really rare Pokemon. I go to events. See?" I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool. Like, I don't play that game, you stupid nerd." And then deep into the night, he left his Game Boy like out on a desk because we stayed in like a college dorm.
Mistake.
Yep, terrible mistake. He just leaves it out there. So deep into the night, I'm well awake because I just never sleep, and that kid's passed out. So I fucking put my game to his and trade it for like the most basic ass bitch monster in the game. And on top of that, what's even better is that like we both had like the same trainer because everyone picked Ash for their trainer name because it was the cartoon guy. So so he couldn't tell that the original trainer was different. So his Mew came onto my game that I still have, and he got like a fucking I think I gave him a Rattata for it. And the next day he goes to turn it on and play with his game. And he's like, "Oh my god, Mew's gone!" And he's freaking out and he's panicking. I'm like, "Oh, that's really weird. I can't believe your
so
Pokemon
weird.
just disappeared on you."
Maybe if we pray hard enough, he'll come back.
He'll come back, yeah. But he told like a camp supervisor or something that like, "Oh, someone stole my fucking video game monster or my Pokemon," and they're like, "Well, who's your roommate?" I'm like, "It's me." They're like, "Do you know anything about this?" I'm like, "I have no idea what this kid's talking about." So
you
and that was literally
gotten busted so easily. Like
that was
right
all,
there.
It was right there. That was all the investigative like power they put into it. They just asked me, "Have you ever heard of this?" I'm like, "I've never heard about it at all until this kid told me about it."
Joe
I even like
probably ruined this kid's life.
I think
that's
I did.
what I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
Split off a chain of events, and who knows where he is now because of this.
But we'll say, if he's a listener, please get in contact with us.
Mark
and I will hold Joe as you punch him.
But you're not
Joe
getting
will
you
sell
back.
it back to you at a reasonable price.
I am the real life Team Rocket, bitch.
Counting for inflation again, of course.
Absolutely counting for inflation.
This kid is like sitting on his couch and he's going to hear this and he'll go, "Joseph!"
He's like, I knew it was him the whole time.
And then he puts the lipstick on and then lays down on his couch. like fucking Steve Buscemi. Well, now that story's out there, which I will timestamp on this recording, so that way everyone knows where this deception and this debauchery was.
Yeah, I even went so far as cut a hole in my mattress to store my Game Boy in for the rest of that camp.
You are lying at this point.
No, that's what I did. I'm like, this way, if they look through my... Because I always thought ahead, like, if they look through my stuff, they'll find my Game Boy and I'll be had. But if I hide it in my mattress, they'll never look there. But of course, they never looked at all, so I didn't have to do
Not only is this guy a thief, but he's also a vandalist.
I am.
You disgust me. You disgust me, sir. And this
I'm
is
not
a guy.
a good person.
This is a guy who prefers to use wet wipes instead of dry paper, and you disgust me.
Oh God! In all seriousness, though, you told me the story for the first time very shortly after we met, and if I had the physical strength, may have hoisted you up onto my shoulder and carried you out of that place that we were at, just like as a that was the best thing I'd ever heard, and I loved every minute of it, and I still do.
Wow.
Yeah, I like to think I'm a good person, but really I'm not. So I am straight off of Seinfeld. It works great.
You see what you want, you go after it. It's fine.
Yeah, we take it.
Well, hopefully we don't have any personal stories of theft in Doug's next game that made him. Oh, and we'll return back to the beginning. What have you got next for us, sir?
Okay, my next game this one is a little bit more obscure. There's a chance that none of you have played it. It is called Gain Ground.
Gain Ground.
Gain Ground. Now, this is a game that I had for Sega Genesis when I was a kid. Doing a little research, I found out that it was originally an arcade game, and then it actually came out on the Sega Master System, but only in PAL regions. Now, ironically enough, this is another game that has 50 levels.
Nice round number.
That's only if you're playing it on difficult, which is the only way that I play it, and I'll explain why. So you all should really look up what this game is, because it is pretty much my favorite video game ever made. In this game, you can play as 20 different characters that all have different weapons. They all have unique traits. Like some of their weapons will shoot shorter than others. Some of their weapons will be able to shoot people on a second level. Some of them can only shoot enemies on a first level. They walk at different speeds. Some of them can only shoot left to right. Some of them can shoot wherever they want. So you have 20 different characters of all varying abilities.
And I'm sure the one that walks the slowest always has to go in front of everyone in the party, driving them all insane.
Exactly. And then throughout all these levels, there's different themes. Like you start out in like a medieval times, and then you go to kind of like a present day. You go to the future. Every 10 levels it switches, and the levels are just so much fun to play. Now, the objective of the game is, now I'll explain the difference between like the regular mode and the hard mode. In the regular mode, you pick up new members of your party as you go, and you start off with the first person. On difficult, you start off with all 20 characters.
Oh.
So yeah, you have to beat 10 more levels, but having all of the 20 characters right away changes the whole way the game is played and makes it just insanely fun. And now there's two things you can do. You either have to kill all the enemies on the screen, or you have to get all of your characters through a gate at the top of the screen. Because they all have different abilities, sometimes it's impossible to kill all the enemies on the screen, so you have to kind of bring all your people out. This game was semi-popularized recently. I'm pretty sure it's available on Nintendo Switch for download. It's there's a lot of these like compilation collections for like Xbox 360 and PlayStation, where they compile a bunch of classic Genesis games. This game is on some of those. So it actually kind of has gained more popularity recently. But yeah, this is a game that me and my brother used to play all the time. It's 2-player co-op. A friend of mine, we used to play it all the time. I have beaten this game by myself, never with a second player, because it suffers from like Contra disease, where you're really good at playing alone because you know where all the bullets are flying and everything. But the second you add a second player in, they're just doing crazy stuff. Like, they're catching a bullet that you were trying to dodge, and now they're losing all of their lives and sucking your lives away, and it just kind of makes it impossible to beat it with a second player. I mean, I've never played with somebody who put in the amount of time that I did. If I did, maybe I'd be able to beat it. But yeah, it is a really, really good game, a really overlooked game. This is a game that like I probably only started playing 2 years after I played Bomberman. But to get to a point that we're going to actually talk about games that made us, one of my favorite my favorite games to come out the past few years is the Hitman Trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with these games on PlayStation.
Yep.
Now, at first glance, these games might seem kind of like a GTA style game. There's guns, you hide and shoot, etc. But it's really not the way it is. It involves a lot of strategy and planning, and I consider them to basically be a puzzle game or an action strategy game in a way. And the way that you have to think about gain ground as being like methodical, you have to play it over and over again. You have to figure out what weapon you want to use at a certain place. You have to conserve something to make something different happen later. That comes into my love of the Hitman game now. So yeah, that's just the conclusion that I came to, and why I wanted to use it for a game that helped make me who I was with modern gaming.
Yeah, that's awesome. And
nice.
Very cool.
It actually reminds me of a point that I didn't make with Snow Brothers.
Yeah.
I've had a few drinks tonight, if you can't tell, folks. Free and I love this game. I'm not going to tell you why at all.
Well, I was going to ask, and it just never happened because we started talking about Pokemon again. So,
well, okay. So here's a really interesting parallel to Doug, though. So once again, it's this 50 level like test of your will. You're basically sweating through the seat as you climb through the levels. And that's the same experience that Snow Brothers has. I mean, you have your power-ups, you're climbing through tougher and tougher things. Why it made me in a similar fashion to you is that because of the co-op mechanic that was not prevalent in a lot of games. The difference, though, in this, and you talk about dedication, which is absolutely fucking hilarious, because my brother and I played Snow Brothers together. They're brothers. We're brothers. We all have very Caucasian-looking names, and you fight through these levels together. And if your digitized 8-bit brother doesn't have your 6,
brother,
no,
the whole thing is fucked. Seriously. So I totally get that, man. I did not anticipate having two games that neither party was aware of having that same parallel. So.
Yeah, it's pretty weird, right? So I don't know why I never ended up playing Snow Brothers, because I mean I played at least 200 out of the 700 or so NES games when I was a kid, between friends having them, renting them, etc. And then played even more when I was a teenager, going to Funkoland to buy them when they were discounted. Then even more the past 10 years when I've been buying on eBay and stuff like that. And then Snow Brothers always escaped me. And now I mentioned before about how it was a one of the pricey games, which is, kind of comes down to why I didn't play it recently, because I tend to stick with actual hardware over emulators. Why you said you were going to say something about that? Why do you think it is like one of those pricey games? Is it just because it's good? Or did it have a limited run? Was it only regional? Like, I'm in New York. Maybe stores didn't carry it here as much, and maybe they did in, the Midwest.
Was it the clever naming system that made it so popular? And that's why the demand is so high.
Well, in the case of Snow Brothers, I mean, it's just like any game that got ported in a time where, commercially porting games for other audiences wasn't that big of a thing, I mean, at that point in time, the most popular game that had been ported from a Japanese side scroller of a similar difficulty would have been Doki Doki Panic, which was ported over as Super Mario 2. And so Snow Brothers
Snow Brothers is like full side scroll.
It's a side scroller that you climb in levels, right? You climb up, and so you go up instead of side to side, right?
Oh,
kind of like Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
I was picturing it like Bubble Bobble.
Oh, Bubble Bobble.
Not quite. Different.
Oh, okay.
Yep, you're going vertical. So the game gets harder as you go. And that's why it's such a timing, based game, because especially if you've got your brother playing one half and you're playing the other half, for some reason that vertical distinction just made it that much harder. It just did. You don't play many games that way.
Falling behind or something, or
one of you misses a power up, that the other brother takes every single time, which I won't name names.
Names won't be named, Nate.
But to your point, Doug, why people probably didn't hear about it was because it had to be ported over. There weren't a ton of copies, and it was one of those games that continually misses the digital releases. People don't, they're not clamoring for it, so why would they try to put it in?
So it probably just didn't sell that well back then, so now there's just less of it.
It received high praise, but now you're going to shell out like $250 to $300 for the cartridge.
See, the deal was it wasn't marketed as a collector's version, so there's a limited amount, and that's actually collectible, unlike the mountain of Smurfs glasses that my parents held on to are now sitting in my apartment.
Or Beanie Babies.
Or Beanie Babies.
Or Beanie Babies, for sure.
Or episode 1 Pepsi products that you drink out of the can, and for some reason you save that disgusting uncleaned can.
No, that's the worst one of all.
Yep.
You listed the worst one.
Wait, what did you do?
He collected trash.
Okay.
Recyclables.
I collect trash.
Who doesn't?
So Doug, what I did, because I was 11 years old and I was a fucking disgusting child, I went and bought the Pepsi cans of the episode 1 characters. So I even drank the Diet Pepsi cans because I just wanted the characters on them. So instead of leaving the cans closed, which most people did who collected them, I drank them.
Well, there's sweet sugar water in there.
You can't just leave that.
Yeah.
Did I die?
Not even a rinse.
Not even a rinse. Not even a rinse. I didn't have time for that.
Hey, it just dries up. It's all good.
Yeah. After the ants
looking for
get
the
to it.
The ants eat all the sugar, and then they're the cleaners of the world. Then you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, that's how you get ants. Yeah. If you're ever wondering how you get ants, that's how you get ants.
This is how you get ants.
All right, well, tell you what, I'm gonna skip your guys' spot in the draft, and I'm gonna dive in because I don't want this episode to end off on me, just in case you two have the same game again.
There's a good chance that we have the second same.
If we do, I will die. But I don't know. I bet you can guess my game, but I don't think we'll have the same game.
Okay.
Well, here's what I'm gonna choose, and this is also another game that made me because of a bond with my brothers, and it was a game that really helped me develop my style of problem solving. Which I'm not going to call out Math Blaster or Mario types. I'm going to choose The Secret of Monkey Island. Also from 1990. So we're going to crank things up by slowing things down.
Grab a partner.
Yes, don't be afraid to get Donnie and Marie close for this slow dance, folks. Sorry, I had to go there. Anyway. No. So Secret of Monkey Island was really one of these fun like video game history moments, right? Because this was a time where point and click adventure games were the rage. People weren't hopped up on Game Fuel or just Surge or Monster Energy dipped in a tampon and shoved up their ass. They weren't doing that stuff yet.
Wow.
No, I think they had Tab. Tab was the best you got back then, and you liked it.
Yeah. Little extra zing, throw some Sweet and Low in there. Let's just make this night crazy. But point and click games were being made by Lucasfilm Games back then. So
yes, they were.
Yeah. Yes, this was the graphical video game, like art driven point and click adventure games. So they would do The Secret of Monkey Island. We'd end up getting the Indiana Jones action adventure point and click games out of this. other games like Day of the Tentacle. I mean, you name it.
Mhm.
These were some of the most legendary point-and-click games that came out during this era. So what was really unique about The Secret of Monkey Island was that this was before Captain Jack Sparrow. Like, this was before Edward Kenway. This is before that guy who says, "Look at me, I'm the captain now." Like, back then, we just had Guybrush fucking Threepwood. And if you didn't hear me the first time, Guybrush Threepwood. So this was like the most vanilla character you've ever seen, with like this big bushy blonde ponytail. He's got the... Doug, you can probably even vouch for me on this. He literally has the Jerry Seinfeld white puffy shirt.
Yeah,
The
pirate shirt.
Yes. He is.
I don't want to be
wearing...
a pirate.
Yes. Even before Jerry Seinfeld didn't want to be a pirate, Guybrush Threepwood was dressing like him, okay?
Yeah, he wanted to be a pirate.
Yes. He
was
did.
a pirate before it was cool.
Yes. Yes. So he wanted to ascend the ranks of the pirates during a fictionalized representation of the Caribbean during the golden age of piracy. What was really different about The Secret of Monkey Island was that back then, if you've ever watched the... it's a recent Netflix documentary within the past like 2 years. They talk about Sierra games. Are any of you familiar with Sierra?
I almost chose King's Quest V as one of my games.
Yes. Yes.
That's one of my favorite games ever made. Yeah.
So they're fantastic games. The Sierra folks made a lot of these graphic point-and-click adventures too. The difference, though, Sierra made the hardest fucking games you have ever played.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. They were so difficult.
Talk about cryptic.
Yeah. Like, they were so hard that if you forgot to pick up an item 2 hours previous in the game, you lost, but you didn't know it until that time.
Still.
Yeah.
That's the worst part.
So
and
mean.
You will never know.
That's
all of a sudden
not...
you're stuck.
Yeah.
No. That's
it's not good.
Literal...
It really makes... it does something to you. It makes you able to have like fortitude to beat other games that are not insane.
Yeah.
Like, they just won't bother you as much.
They just pale in comparison.
Yeah.
This is like the video game equivalent of having to walk to school uphill both ways in the freezing snow with nothing but a hot potato to warm you along the way.
And you were lucky to have that.
The two ways I describe Sierra games: one, it's like riding a bicycle without a seat, or two, or two, it's worse than a breakup, because if you die 2 hours after you're supposed to pick something up, you're asking yourself all the questions of, what could I have done differently? What is it, me? Did I just not do this right? So the Sierra games were known for this, and a lot of other action adventure point and click games were. So the difference within Monkey Island was that creators Ron Gilbert, Tim Schaefer, and Dave Grossman, they all agreed that we need to make an action and adventure game that allows you to figure it out and not think of how many ways we can kill you, but how many different ways you can solve this problem, and really give you the chance to figure that out with clues. And I wouldn't say make it obvious, but really make you think before you try a tactic or, anything like that. So there's very few ways you can actually die in The Secret of Monkey Island. Like, there are so few so few ways to end the game that way, that some people didn't even discover this because it's literally an Easter egg. So I'm guessing, based on the response of Joe, because I can actually see his eyes, who wants to take a guess at how you could die in The Secret of Monkey Island?
The fact that death is an Easter egg. Okay.
Walk in the plank.
Oh, here.
Scurvy.
Doug is on the right track.
Oh, not scurvy.
Oh,
okay.
Freak gardening accident.
Eyes pecked out by a parrot.
Sharks.
We're getting a little bit further away, but it does involve the water, though. Okay, and what's funny? No, it's not sharks.
Just drowning, I guess.
It's from drinking salt water.
Doug
Drowning?
got it. Doug literally got it.
Well,
And the reason why it is an Easter egg is because when you start talking about your talents as a prospective pirate, people ask you what your talents are, and the only talent that you can think of is that, well, I can hold my breath underwater for roughly 9 minutes. So
no.
there's
So,
one
like,
point.
let's check.
Yes, yes. There's one point in the game where you can go and grab something underwater, and if you stand there for 9 minutes, you will die. You'll finally succumb.
Funny. That's so funny.
That's fantastic. This is like the one kid in the playground who says he knows karate, and you actually pick him to be in a fight with you, and like, oh crap, he doesn't actually know karate. That was a shallow boast.
Dude, it was such a different thing because you can probably tell the humor of this game was unique. I mean, there was plenty of humor for you to pay attention to. You know, if you wanted to solve a puzzle and you had to figure it out, you weren't going to die waiting to do it. There's no risk of a moon crashing into your planet, you know. And like Sierra, you're not going to get murdered for forgetting to pick up like a toothpick 2 hours earlier in that playthrough. So, I mean, it was just such a unique, like, humor-driven game. But you did have to think about, you know, solving some of these problems. Some were complex, some were, like I said, they were Easter egg driven. For that reason, okay, this method of thinking, one of the problems in the game you have to solve by using a rubber chicken that you pick up earlier in the game.
Naturally.
Huh.
And
is it that you have to collect a lot of these rubber chickens and then press them all down at the same time?
Nope.
And post that on the internet?
It's one of these items that is in a shop in the game that you can get at any time, and you don't die because you don't find it. You just can't travel somewhere until you do. So So for me, I go through my life thinking of what's the rubber chicken that I need to get through the next day.
Mark's always on the lookout for the rubber chicken in life.
You are goddamn right.
The last thing to expect, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So really quick note for the creators of this game, though. I mentioned Gilbert, Schaefer, and Grossman. What was really fun about these guys is they didn't stop creating these types of games, and they would actually go on to work for Telltale Games later on.
Nice.
They would continue to refine. And at Telltale Games, they also worked on the Monkey Island game that Telltale Games would create too. So I actually owe a lot of my my critical thinking process not to academia, but to fucking Monkey Island. So
that checks out.
Yep. Now, because Joe has asked me this question roughly a dozen times, every time I mention this game, no, we do not find out what the secret of Monkey Island is. It is never revealed. So either way.
Which, just that would kill me as a kid. Like, I beat the whole game and I don't know what the secret is.
Yeah, agreed.
The secret doesn't revolve around the rubber chicken?
Yeah. But Joe had a dark enough secret of his own until he confessed tonight to our viewers. So I think that was really what he was more concerned with.
Yeah, like there was no theft of monkeys at a missionary. So really, was any of that worth it?
Well, all right. Well, let's hear it, folks. I want to hear what Joe and Chelsea's games are here, because I hope they're not the same one. What do y'all got?
I doubt they're the same. Joe, I want you to try to guess my game.
Okay, so it's not going to be the Legend of Zelda series because we've talked about those quite a bit already.
Yes.
Other game, Harvest Moon?
Yeah, it's Harvest Moon.
Yeah! Bam! And this is why we're friends.
Friendship.
And Joe's Harvest Moon.
Yeah,
I didn't pick Harvest Moon.
See, I knew I knew you would not be picking Harvest Moon. Yeah. So it's hilarious. Doug and Mark, you both have, these games that are very intense, standing up, sweating hands, like super, super intense. And I'm over here catching them all and digital farming. Because 9-year-old Chelsea has a stressful life and she just needs to relax sometimes and, take over her grandfather's farm and just farm until she feels better. So that's what I did. And my first Harvest Moon game was the second game in the series. It was released in 1998 in the US, and it was for the Game Boy. And similar to, obviously, my other game, being Pokemon Red, being a Game Boy game as well, as I have confessed in previous episodes, my mom hogged the consoles all the time. So I literally, if I was playing video games,
Cherry.
I had to play on my Game Boy. Like, it's all I could play on.
Boxed you out, man. Boxed you out.
So did. She really, really did. So, Harvest Moon, farm simulation role-playing game. Get to leave the city and all of your grind behind to take up a simpler life of working the land and raising animals and sending your produce to market and
picking a wife eventually.
Oh yeah, you know it.
That wasn't a feature in the early games, was it?
No, not in the first Game Boy game. I believe the first time that you pick the next game that I had actually, so I can't speak to the other ones, was for the GameCube. And in that one, that was the first one where you could pick from several of the local town women
now,
to become your wife.
Game that involves milking.
Okay, so we're pointing something weird about me out.
Is this a personal attack?
Well, I will
Chelsea
say
just finds working with others very comforting.
Oh, good God.
Don't we all, right? Yeah.
We are from Wisconsin. I don't know. No relation. It's just a
point.
It's just a happy fact. I don't know why, but
Doug would see a cow and not even know what to do first with it. So I guess that's.
And I'm like, let me in there. I know what to do.
The same thing I do with my Pokemon.
Yeah. Handled a few teats in my day.
Now, quick, make that cow fight the other cow.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so Chelsea, quick question about this game. Not just because it's a Neil Young song of the same name.
Yeah.
So obviously the comfort level of this game sounds intriguing enough, but was there anything else about this that really, made it define you? Like, was there anything else about this that, that maybe was a defining, characteristic of this game that you wouldn't find somewhere else?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was a game in particular that when I was playing, my dad took a lot of interest in, which my dad actually didn't really play a lot of video games, but he grew up in a farming family, grew up on a dairy farm. And so to him, it was just like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, you can plant these vegetables and they grow in different seasons. So like he really liked that aspect of it. So it could be something that I would be like, oh, hey, Dad, look I did this. And he'd be like, that's really cool. But then another thing was that a couple of my cousins at the same time that were my age also had the same game. And in that game, again, with the Game Boy, they're relying a bit on that link cable, which was new to the Game Boy Color. So they had to try and work it into as many of their games as possible to kind of make it applicable outside of Pokemon. And you could do things like you had a pet. You could choose between a cat or a dog, and you could at any time like trade your pet with whoever your friend was. And I don't know. So there was just a little, like, all of us little munchkins were running around playing the same game. And as the series developed, it got more and more complicated. More aspects were added into it. And I don't know, it's just like a de-stress thing to me. Like, this is something, I like collecting stuff. I like digital farming. It's comforting. It's comforting. Yes. Yeah. When I'm not murdering stuff, I'm bringing life.
You're making friends. You're squeezing teats. I mean, what else?
What's not to love?
It's essentially like it could be Sim Farm. It seems to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Like, or even like, I don't know if you've ever played like Theme Park. There's a lot of games like this where they're not hectic. It's just you're just playing.
Yeah, Roller Coaster Tycoon. That's another one. Like, I love all those Sims towers. I was a huge Sim player. I still play the Sims.
Yes. The Sims days.
Yeah.
Like, there were days where I think you'd bring that over and you'd play that while I was playing Star Trek Online, just nerding out, having a good time.
Yeah, or I would sit for sure. Oh my God, I would come over to your apartment when we weren't living together, and I would just sit on the couch playing The Sims, and you'd be playing some other video game, and like, we're not necessarily talking, but we're together.
We are. We're hanging out.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, why don't you give us a shot at what your next game that made you is?
This is one that I did play with Chelsea a lot in college.
Ooh, okay. Uncharted?
Not Uncharted, because we actually played with each other. So it wasn't even like you passively watching. It was one that we played.
We played together?
Yes, mostly while drinking.
Is it Rock Band?
Not Rock Band. It is not as new as Rock Band. It was only 64 bits big.
Oh, Mario Kart 64.
Yeah, darn right, Mario Kart 64.
Yes.
Yeah, that game.
That's a good pick.
Yeah.
Yep, that was one. That was twofold for me. So that was definitely like, I remember like we got Nintendo 64 for Christmas, and like, you know, had the classic 64 kid like moment of getting that thing, just like, oh my god, the 64. And like
the graphics are too good.
They're amazing. This is actual 3D, not like weird Super Nintendo 3D. And I remember getting this game, and I played it a lot with my brother. And my brother is someone who, like, we just have so many like things in common that we love doing with each other. And this was like the first video game, not the first video game we played with each other, because this was definitely the first video game that I would like to reveal to him right now, because I know he's not listening, was the one that it was actually competitive with him, because like when we played fighting games, I would purposely throw matches because he would get so pissed. He would rage. And one time he like kicked a hole into our bedroom door because he got so pissed that I beat him like three things in a row in Street Fighter 2. So like, you know what? I'm going to throw matches so he doesn't throw tantrums.
He had his Puss in Boots moment during Street Fighter 2.
He did. Total Puss in Boots moment.
The eternal peacekeeper.
Doug, I'm sorry.
So I have a question. How were you beating him in Street Fighter 2? Were you just like E-Honda arm the whole time?
Oh no, like that's the thing. We actually outlawed Dulcim. Like Dulcim wasn't allowed to be played by either person. Like no, none of that stretchy business. No, we always like, honestly, like we had the same like typical like American kid thing. Like we just love the lead character, so we always played as Ryu. Like so we were always playing the same character.
So it's a very fair one.
Ryu,
you got a normal game on him. Okay.
Yeah, or every once in a while I'd throw Blanca in and really get him.
but most of the time,
electric shock thing.
Most of the time you're using the stones to destroy the stones. So
usually, yeah. But Mario Kart 64 comes along, and this is a game where it was like we really went back and forth on it. Like it was seriously competitive. It was seriously fun. And it was one where like if my brother would find out something that was like an edge for him, he would tell it to me so that way I could do it too, and we could be equal, like on equal ground. He would like we would never make it so that we would find something out and not tell the others, so we could have that as an edge over the other player. And if we ever like discovered like a shortcut or a secret, we only the rules like we can only use it once on each other, just so we could see it was there. And then we just said like you don't like we won't do that again. So like little things like everyone knew like in the Wario Stadium, like you could hop the second jump and just be. Like you just skip the entire lap. Same with Rainbow Road. You could find that skip. I know one thing that I never did later playing the game is there's actually a pretty solid glitch in Frap Snowland where if you are on the bridge right before the finish line and you fly off, if you're parked on that bridge, normally the little guy who brings you back down from going in the water, if you're parked right before the bridge is over, that's where he always tries to put you down. So if you're parked there, he just drops the other person back in the water. And by dropping back in the water, he tries putting them further back on the bridge, and they just drop through the bridge into the water. And that just keeps happening until the other person moves. So that was something like when we found like, if we're actually close and like someone went off, like we would park at the right spot just to do that to each other.
That is some Rick James level fuck your couch stuff right there.
Absolutely. And speaking of the playability of this, there actually, when it first came out, it had usually overwhelmingly like pretty good reviews. Like they always said like, you know what, it's not very innovative, but it is very fun. Like the 3D graphics are great. The AI is pretty predictable and easy to overcome when doing like the main part of the game. But one particular reviewer from GameSpot gave it the lowest rating it ever received, a 6.4 out of 10. And one of the things that he said in his review is he warned players that you would be disappointed within a week of your purchase. And
What
how
an
wrong
asshole.
is that? Yeah, Trent Ward, you're a dickhead because
you can go to hell. You can go to hell and die.
Yeah, I still play this game and fucking love this game.
It's the best Mario Kart game ever.
Easily.
The 64 Mario Kart is the best Mario Kart game. Fight me.
Hands down.
It just
my favorite is personally the GameCube.
Oh, Double Dash?
But, yes.
Double Dash was fun. It was fun.
See, I don't have any nostalgia. I didn't grow up with a Nintendo 64. So I played the 64 and the GameCube around the same time, like years later, when I was in college. So, it was like, which am I going to pick, the 64 or that? I'm sure if I had played it when I was younger, I would feel differently. Yeah. But that person that gave it a bad review was clearly not playing multiplayer.
Yeah, probably. You're probably right.
Yeah, because I can understand, maybe if you're playing one player over again, you get bored of the races. But if you're playing with friends, you can play that game endlessly.
Exactly. And that's what I love, because that's what it came back later in college, living with Chelsea. We would, one of the best things, we would drink in Kart, where you had to down 2 beers before you could finish the race, or the battle mode. Every time you lost a balloon, you had to drink. And then I think we also did in battle mode in that game, if you get eliminated and the match is still going, there's still 2 or more players, there's still at least 2 players playing the game, you turn to a little bomb and go around. And if you get hit by the bomb, you have to down the drink. You don't take a drink, you finish what you have left. And if it was only a sip, you down another beer.
It was so much fun. The very first time playing Battle, and I was a kid at this time, and playing with my cousins again, and the first time I was a bomb and actually killed someone else, I laughed so hard that I cried. I literally cried, tears, laughing. It was hilarious.
It's hilarious, and it's just a slap to the face of the player you hit, because you move significantly slower than the other players.
Or you come around a corner and they just they mow right over you. And
oh my god, if they have star power,
amazing. Oh god.
Doug, you bring up a really good point though, that even though the Secret of Monkey Island is a single player game, all of us in the games that we've mentioned so far have been a game where you can share an experience with another person to an extent, right?
Legally or illegally.
Yeah, I participated without my consent in the case of Joe. But ultimately, though, these are all experiences that we share with either a family member or with a group of friends. And so, I can definitely understand why everything so far would be a game that made us. Now, this might just be me trying to read the room, but Doug, did you bring a third game with you?
I did.
Ooh, bonus game, bonus levels. Yes.
And I've been noticing a theme throughout here. I feel like I'm a little bit older than everybody here. Could I be?
Maybe.
I think you're a couple years older than Joe and I.
Okay, so in video game years, that's a big deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
In technology years.
Around the time when Nintendo 64 came out, I had gotten PlayStation 1 instead of that. And that was, I think I was in my first year of high school, maybe.
Okay.
Around that time. So I was kind of I don't have time for video games. Kind of they took a back seat until I was, in college, kind of starting to mess around with them again. So I kind of missed the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 years, or essentially the 64 GameCube years. And the game that I have chosen is another multiplayer game that you can play with other people, but it's a very old one. It is from the first console I had when I was a kid, and it was the first game that I ever played or remember playing in my life. And it is Combat for Atari 2600.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And if nobody knows what that is, it's like Pong, where you try to kill each other with tanks.
That sounds fun.
And you take turns, you're able to drive your tank a little bit, and then you can aim it, and you have to try to shoot the other person.
Yep.
And you just take turns. It was actually a pack-in game with the Atari 2600, And the reason I had that when I was a kid is because it was actually my mother's, and she just had it. She would play some other games for it. So I kind of, as soon as I gained consciousness in this world, just had an Atari already. Already had the ET game, already had the Superman game, and Adventure and Combat, and Kaboom, and a lot of these classic games.
Yeah.
But Combat was the first game in my life that I ever played multiplayer, that I played with my little brother. Thinking about it is insane because this is right before we got NES, which I got when I was 7. So this was between, I was like between 5 and 6 years old, and he's 2 years younger than me, so he was like 3 and 4, and we're playing this game Combat, and I don't know, I tried to pick something from like my first 3 systems. So I had the Bomberman for NES, and I had Game Ground for Genesis, and I have now Combat for Atari, and they kind of are all similar to me in a way. They're literally all single screen games, which I don't know what that says about me, but it's and yeah, it's just a really good game. I mean, the crazy thing about this game is people could play it today. Like, this is the kind of game that you could have like 10-year-olds today play it, do some sort of YouTube video where they play old games, and they will have fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is such a classic premise.
Yes. And Combat would go on to actually shape some of these similar tank games that would come on the PC. Some of them would be console based, and they would just get better. They would get, I don't want to say better. Yes, Scorched Earth, absolutely.
World of Tanks.
Or what's crazy? You know what it actually is? Worms.
Yeah.
I love Worms games. It's similar because it's like you have this certain time limit. You can either move over here, or you can try to shoot from far away. Like, you take turns trying to set up to kill the next person. So, I mean, it is the seed for Worms.
Yeah. I mean, it's the truth, though. I mean, and Combat would do it, like you said, single screen, but games like Scorched Earth would make it so that it would pan away from you, and then the other person would have to try to figure out their move based on what they thought you did.
I love that.
But yeah, like so with Combat being like the proto version of that, I mean, it was still a fun game because you had to think a few moves ahead of the other player.
Definitely.
So I mean, with Combat, was it a game that made you because of the replay value, or was it more about playing with your brother, or like what was the defining moment there?
I've just always been a fan of multiplayer games. Like, I love playing video games by myself, but not as much as I like to play with other people. Like, one of my favorite games ever to this day is GoldenEye 64 because of playing it with a group of people.
Yeah.
Even the Mario Kart games, or I don't know if you've ever played Beetle Adventure Racing for N64. It's a great 4-player. It's like Volkswagen Beetles, but it's Mario Kart.
Nice.
It's just a great 4-player game for N64. And then you've got games like Twisted Metal that I used to play as a multiplayer. Fighting games, and it's just been, or like Super Dodgeball for NES. I mean, I could go on about all of the multiplayer games that are my best memories. I just love them, whether it's co-op or versus, it doesn't matter. Just playing with other people makes it great. So Combat is just the seed for that. It's not only the first game I ever played, it's the first, game that I played with my brother, first game I played with another person.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Love it. And
I'm getting goosebumps going back to, the earliest days of playing with my brothers too right now. Like, we didn't play multiplayer games at first, but we were trying to best each other in high scores with like Donkey Kong Jr. or Duck Hunt, because they were packaged with the NES at that point, same console. And so for us in the beginning, it was more about trying to best each other's high scores, but that competitive edge, that competitive nature, I mean, that was something that definitely. I'm trying to get choked up. I cry about everything these days.
Because you're a parent, now you're a crier.
Yeah.
I am. I'm a sympathy crier. Doug, don't cry, or I'll cry too.
I'm about to.
Well, that's awesome. And you know what? What I always love about this show, which is really weird, man. Somehow we always come to a very poignant moment after the end of these discussions. You know, it's not something we script, because we don't script any of this. We don't plan to get there, but honestly, this idea of relationships defining our gaming experiences. I mean, that if that doesn't make you feel good or remind you of, you know, when you stole somebody's Mew in the middle of the night
and hid it in your bed like a common criminal. Scratch that
measures
mattress.
had to be made to teach that boy a lesson.
What did you cut the mattress open with?
I had a pocket
little
knife
thief
with me.
teeth. Oh, okay. Yeah,
I was a middle school kid in Wisconsin. We all have pocket knives.
that's true. That's true. They issued to them, or us to them at 12.
Yep. We're milking things, and we're getting our first 14-inch knife at the age of 12. That's how we do things here. But hey, you know what, Doug? Honestly, I've been smiling ear to ear for almost the last hour and a half. It's just like how we did the first time you joined us. And seriously, man, cannot thank you enough for coming on and joining us for this.
It was a great time. Yeah.
No, we're gonna have to do a comics episode or something, and have you back for that.
I was gonna say that because I'm in my basement right now, where I have my classic games and I have my comic book collection and my collected edition collection. You can see like some of my
you've got some omnibuses up there.
I've been looking at those.
That could take a long time. Figure out a good comic book one, and we'll talk, and that'll be a really great time, because that's like my my number one nerd obsession is reading comics. So.
Well, I hope that everyone who listened to that conversation enjoyed it. We know we did. I mean, we could invite Doug back at any given time. I mean, Joe, I'm thinking we should probably do like the foods that made us, because I want to talk about 3D Doritos, and I think Doug would too.
I mean, I'm down to talk the odd Pepsi flavors that made us, as long as Doug is coming. It really can be anything. Yeah, it could be the Tostitos that made us. They make like 5 different products, and we will talk about the 3 that really we enjoyed or ate at least once in our lives. So I think, that being said, what we're going to take away from this, we really like having Doug on the show. Always a fun time. Really looking forward to having him. And in all seriousness, I really hope we do the comics that made us at some point in time with him. But so we hope you come back and listen to us. If you've stumbled to the show on accident, you can find us basically wherever you find literally any other podcast. If you don't listen to podcasts on those typical podcasting areas, we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we have even made what the kids call a blog, where you can read things that we've written about the stuff we're talking about each week, or sometimes every other week. So like, subscribe, review, do all that really fun stuff, so we can keep making these shows for you. And yeah, we'll keep coming back if you do, or if not, like, we'll see ourselves talk. And on that note, has anyone seen Chelsea?